Welcome to the January 9th, 2019 edition of the BitcoinNews.com Daily Podcast, where we cover the biggest stories of Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency every single day. This is your host, Space Marine, live from outer space. Jumping right into the Bitcoin market analysis, well, Bitcoin is about as quiet and stable as it possibly could be today. The day started and Bitcoin was around 4,020. And now it's at like 4,005 over the past so there was this little bump yesterday, January 8th, where Bitcoin went up to 4112 briefly on Bitstamp, and that quickly crashed off. It looked like maybe the beginning of a rally where people were actually buying some Bitcoin, maybe a rally would have started, but there was obviously some larger pressure from a larger force that just forced it right back down, and it declined from 4112 quickly to like 4010, and then it dipped as low as actually 39.50 overnight. Well, before midnight on January 8th. And then Bitcoin rose up a little bit again. It went as high as 4,060 today. Very briefly, I wouldn't even call it a rally. Not even a mini rally, it's just a very brief momentary spike. And now Bitcoin has been kind of oscillating around the $4,000 level. It's been like around 3980 to like 4,020 over the past few hours, and as I speak right now, the price of Bitcoin is crossing right through that $4,000 level, as it has many times over the course of the day. And overall, the Bitcoin market cap is $70 billion, so it's a little higher than it was. Remember to put things in perspective. Let's zoom out on the chart. Bitcoin was as low as $3,120 on Bitstamp on like December 15th, 2018. So Bitcoin has climbed a little bit. It's climbed actually about almost 25-30% since that low, so that sounds pretty good, right? Well, as we all know, it was at $20,000 on December 17th, 2017. So it declined from like 20,000 to 3,000, and now it's popped back up to 4,000. Even during this bear market, it's been common to have like rallies like this periodically. So it's not a totally quiet market. It's coming off it came down strongly. In the middle of November when that Bitcoin Cash fork war happened, Bitcoin crashed from like 6,500 all the way down to 3,100 a month later. And now it's popping back up. So this is not a quiet and stable market. Yes, I started the show by saying today is stable and pretty quiet. But if you zoom out like the past few months, wow, like it came off that $6,500 stability level and crashed, like lost half its value, and now it regained a little value. Some people might call this a dead cat bounce, maybe, if it goes back down to 3,100. It could very well go back down to 3,100, because the traders on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, CME, Bitcoin futures, they kind of have a strong pull on the market. The data shows that they strongly influence the market. Like the day they launched, Bitcoin crashed like thousands of dollars. Like the peak day for Bitcoin was the day the futures launched, and then once the futures were live, it crashed a lot. That very day, December 17th, 2017. So, yeah, like they took out their short positions right after the contract expired on December 28th. Bitcoin was around 3,900. We are $100 above that level, where CME traders probably took out their short positions at the end of December for the month of January. And I think probably that $3,900 level has some really high gravity. So every little attempt to escape 3,900 in the past week has been like pulled down by the gravity of the $3,900 level, if you want to put it that way. Basically, the short sellers that took out their positions have ways of manipulating the market, such as selling Bitcoin to make it go down. Like if they could sell a little bit of Bitcoin compared to what they're short selling all at once, and then more people will sell out of panic. But they haven't really unleashed their ammunition yet. It's been obviously something is suppressing Bitcoin's price from going well above 4,000. It's gone to 4,100 in the past week, but not much above that. It gets pushed down, but there hasn't been like a serious crash. So really the level to watch is $3,900. If Bitcoin goes well above it, like if it gets to like 4,200, 4,500, 5,000, then it's going to go free and clear and probably rally for the month. And maybe the short sellers will go into a long position. However, if Bitcoin goes back below 3,900, it could go back to 3,100. Maybe lower. As for the rest of the cryptocurrency markets, because it's not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin does lead the way. Bitcoin is the king of cryptocurrency, but there is over 2,000 other cryptocurrencies listed on CoinMarketCap, and probably thousands more than that are kind of dead or scammy or not listed. The total cryptocurrency market cap is $137 billion right now. It's actually up a little bit the past few days. It was like $135 billion. And Bitcoin hasn't really risen. What's going on here is other cryptocurrencies have been rising a little bit, especially Tron. TRX. Tron is the biggest story of like the week as far as like a success story goes. It's up like 9% today. It was up like 10% or more yesterday. It's way up. Let's look at the Tron chart. It's at $1.9 billion market cap right now. It just passed Bitcoin SV. And it's, I think it's going to try to pass Tether. I think it did pass Tether briefly earlier today. And it should be past Tether's market cap. Like, Tether's market cap is inflated because Tether's supposed to be worth $1, but apparently it's trading at $1.02 on average on the global markets. So that doesn't make any sense. So let's look at Tron TRX over the past month. Really quite a rally. So it's gone from 0.0125 cents per TRX per Tron to like 0.028 right now. So just like without even a calculator. But you know, I'll pull out the calculator real quick for this. So Tron's up 125% in like the past month, even like the past few weeks. In the past few weeks, Tron is up 125%. That's a real old style crypto rally reminiscent of like the 2017 rally. But it's alone. Everything else is kind of following Bitcoin, and the Tron's off in its own world. It passed Bitcoin SV. And it's probably past Tether too. Like Tether is at $1.02. Which makes its market cap higher than it should be. And Tron might pass Stellar if this continues, but, you know, it would really have to go up a lot more to pass Stellar, but it's possible. But Tron has moved into the top 10, basically, and it's trying to solidify its position in the top 10 cryptocurrencies. As for the rest of the cryptocurrencies, Ethereum's at $150 right now. It's declined slightly. And remember, Ethereum Classic got like 51% attacked badly. Over $1 million of Ethereum Classic was stolen in double spend attacks. That's usually like a death knell for a cryptocurrency. Ethereum Classic's sticking around though. It's actually up a little today. It's kind of stable. It's at $5 per coin. However, Ethereum Classic has been frozen on Coinbase pretty much. You can't withdraw or deposit it. And it went down like 10% yesterday. It lost like $60 million from its market cap. And Ethereum got dragged down a little with it because basically the communities are a bit interlinked. And the Ethereum Classic community was calling strongly to ban ASICs in the upcoming Constantinople. Well, no, the Ethereum Classic community just wants to ban ASICs. And then the Ethereum community at the same time is saying, let's ban ASICs in the Constantinople hard fork or Prague POW. And so Ethereum probably should be going up a little bit right now. Like the rally pre-fork kind of stopped. It was rallying because people were excited about the fork. It brings some nice improvements like better transaction fees, cheaper transaction fees, better programming and code and stuff, and lower inflation rate. The block reward's been slashed from 3 Ether to 2 Ether. That's really good for the holders and the investors, but bad for the miners. But anyways, the holders and the investors are the ones that speculate on the market anyway. So Ethereum was rallying. It went up a lot. It went up like 80%. And then it stopped. When the Ethereum Classic 51% attack happened, the rally stopped and went down a little. It hasn't crashed or anything, just stopped going up. And it might be because the battle in the community has begun, because the miners already got, like, it's insult to injury. Like, Ethereum's price went from $1,400 to, like, $150 over the past, like, year, pretty much. And now they're trying to, and they're slashing block rewards from 3 Ether to 2 Ether. So the miners that have already been hurt by the decline in Ethereum's price are being, like, kicked in the, stomach. And then the salt in the wound would be banning the ASICs, which is most of their machines. So, yeah. Like, maybe that fight has finally started, and once the fork happens, it's possible. Because when a fork happens, a hard fork like Constantinople, when it happens in less than a week, it's like 4, 5, 6 days now, something like that, maybe a week. And there's going to be the old Ethereum chain and then the Constantinople chain. Most people will immediately go to the new chain, which is going to be what's called Ethereum, and the big exchanges have pledged that already, like they're going to upgrade immediately. But the miners, they might be like, okay, we're keeping the old Ethereum because we can't make money on this new version. So we could, like, usually when a hard fork happens of Ethereum, there's always 2 different chains. And usually the old chain dies out, like, immediately. But this time it might just keep going and be, it's not going to be called Ethereum Classic because that's already taken, obviously, but it might be called, like, a Ethereum Awesome or something. I don't know. They could just make up a name. But literally, it'll be easy to create another version of Ethereum based on the one that's running now when it gets upgraded to a new version. We'll see if that happens, and it could cause a war kind of similar to the Bitcoin Cash War, but not as organized, probably, because there's no signs right now about a new version popping up. But I think in the coming days, we might finally see something like that. Alright, going down to the rest of the market. Ripple is up 1% today. It's at 37 cents almost. Every time Ripple goes up 1 cent, the Ripple Labs gets $590 million because they hold like 59.2 billion Ripple. The circulating supply of Ripple is 40.8 billion, and then the other 59.2 billion is held by Ripple Labs. Bitcoin Cash is down a little today, but like Bitcoin Cash is like totally divorced from like any fundamentals. It's kind of there, it's kind of major because it's on Coinbase and people know about it, but it's unnecessary in the sense that Bitcoin Cash has very small amounts of transactions. And like they have huge block size limits, but like no one's using them. Like the block size usually is like 100 kilobytes or less for Bitcoin Cash, even though they're, so the whole point of Bitcoin Cash was to upgrade from 1 megabyte block sizes on Bitcoin to like 8 megabytes and 32 megabytes, then 128 megabytes. And they're even aiming for a terabyte, but so few people use it that 1 megabyte would have been fine for Bitcoin Cash, so it kind of defeats the purpose of its creation. Same for Bitcoin SV. They kind of wrecked each other. They split up, wrecked each other, and now, like before it was worth $600 before the fork, and now combine them, you have like $250 at the most. Anyways, Litecoin, the rally has stopped today. So it's all the way up to $40. It slid a little, now it's at $39.50. But yeah, Litecoin rallied really strong the past month. It was up like 70%. It still is. And but the rally kind of halted. Ethereum and Litecoin's rally both halted. And then Tron's kind of picked up the flag for the rally. And Tron's rallying. Tether is not stable. Like we just mentioned this earlier in the show. It's at like $1.02, kind of like chaotic. Very interesting development is USD coin. The market cap, which means the circulation, because the USD coin's another stable coin. Each one's worth $1, and it's actually at parity today. It went down a bunch today, which finally brought it to parity. And so USD coin has rapidly accelerated its market cap growth, its circulating supply. It's up to 335 million USD coins in circulation. It's going up by like the hour right now. Like people are really adopting USD coins. Like the invention of Circle and Coinbase. It's their stable coin. And it's being adopted a lot quicker than Tether. Tether's seen a little bit of adoption. Its circulation supply is going up a little. It got really hurt bad. It got wrecked in October and November when they lost their bank. They lost like over $1 billion of circulation. But now they're going up a little. But now USD coin's going up much quicker. Will USD coin challenge Tether one day? I think so. I think USD coin has a shot at the number one. It's going to take some time. And I'll keep you updated on that. And going down the list, we already talked about Tron's at number 9. Monero is down a little. It's still around $53, $52. Dash went up. Dash is doing good today. It's at $86. It's having a nice little up day. And Dash is kind of like, it's the number one X11 masternode cryptocurrency. And it's somewhere between Monero and Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's the least anonymous, even though Bitcoin can be pretty anonymous. Just like throwing a VPN and Tor and change your Bitcoin address every time. You got anonymity, but Monero has full stealth built in, and then Dash has pretty much full stealth built in. Like every time you send a transaction with Dash, it goes through the master nodes, getting mixed up a bunch of times, and gets spit out, and no one knows where it came from, sort of thing. I know everyone's been waiting. What is Dogecoin doing today? Well, it hasn't moved at all. It's a $268 million, $267 million market cap right now. And Dogecoin will be around forever, I'm sure. Like 10,000 years from now, Dogecoin will be around. One little bit of news to mention is that Ethereum's already planning for what to do for the next fork. So this is not the final fork. Constantinople fork coming in like a week, causing all this tension and drama. It's not the last one. There's one coming. It's called Ethereum Serenity. And it's probably going to be proof of stake. And they just gave $5 million from the Ethereum Foundation to Parity. Parity Technologies has $5 million now to build Serenity. I guess that's the name of that sci-fi movie. It's like a Wild West movie combined with a space movie. I can never get all the way through it, even though I hear it's good. But anyways, yeah, Ethereum Serenity is coming. And at that point, basically, there will be no more difficulty bomb. Like right now, in the Constantinople fork, they've delayed the difficulty bomb by 12 months again. And this difficulty bomb forces them to upgrade Ethereum. And basically, like if they didn't upgrade Ethereum like now, the difficulty bomb would go off and like ruin the network because block times would get exponentially higher. And then the whole blockchain would stop, everything would stop working. And so when the Serenity comes proof of stake, the difficulty bomb will be gone pretty much, I think. Because once it's proof of stake, there's no more miners to like vote on when Ethereum gets upgraded or not. Because basically, The difficulty bump forces the miners to upgrade too, to the new versions of Ethereum. At that point, once it's proof of stake, truth be told, it's going to be kind of centralized. The developers can upgrade it whenever they want and do anything they want. And they will probably have a voting system where you can stake your coins to vote. But in the past, almost all of the time, when there's been a voting system with proof of stake, so few people vote, and it's only the people voting that actually care about doing it because they're kind of like voting for themselves. Everyone else can't be bothered to stake their coins to vote because they're trying to use their coins for stuff. If you stake your coin to vote, you can't use your coins. So, like, the voting system with proof of stake is pretty flawed, and at that point, even if there's difficulty bombs still in Ethereum's code, it doesn't matter because the Ethereum developers can upgrade it whenever they want. They could fork it every week at that point, or never, whatever. It's up to them, basically. So that's what we got to look forward to with Ethereum. To back up and look at the big picture, they're getting rid of the miners. And this is kind of like the miners' last chance right now before the Constantinople hard fork. When the fork happens, it's their last chance to split off and fight and be like, we're not going for this. And they might as well because the developers are adamant that they're getting rid of proof of work. They're getting rid of the miners. It's going to proof of stake, which is kind of centralized. And in an ideal world, proof of stake could be decentralized, but it's not. Because we're in this world. In this world, not everyone's going to vote by staking coins. So Ethereum will become a proof of stake coin, and we'll see. I don't think it's going to be the number 2 cryptocurrency if it's proof of stake. There's going to be centralization problems like what we saw with EOS. EOS was the biggest ICO in history, and it had lots of potential, but then when it finally came to be, it's still listed number 5 on CoinMarketCap, but it has like a $2.6 billion market cap versus Ethereum's like $15 billion versus Bitcoin $70 billion. EOS had a lot of potential. Lots of people invested. People were excited. But when it came out, there was so much centralization concerns happening. Like people's accounts were being frozen, transactions being reversed, and the block producers for EOS have full centralization powers. And once stories like that come out from like Ethereum, anything like that with centralization, I think it'll get knocked down the ranks. That's kind of how it works. Alright, so that's all we have for you today on this January 9th, 2019 edition of the BitcoinNews.com Daily Podcast. Come back tomorrow for another exciting episode and go to BitcoinNews.com 24/7 for the full spectrum of Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency analysis. This is your host, Space Marine, signing out. I will remain in outer space.